There's a reason they call it the dead of night. And tonight, you'll find out why. If you're hearing this, it's already too late. Maybe you're curled up in bed, the covers pulled tight, the soft blue glow of your phone lighting up the darkness. Maybe you're just looking for something to help you drift off, a little background noise to keep the shadows at bay. That's what most people think, right? That stories are safe. That they're just words, just voices in the dark. But the truth is, stories are doors. And some doors should never be opened. You asked for true stories. I hope you're ready for the truth. It's 3 a.m. somewhere. The hour when the world is at its quietest, when the air feels thick and heavy, when the things that hide in the corners of your room start to wonder if you're asleep yet. You know that feeling, the one where you're almost comfortable, almost safe, but something in the back of your mind keeps whispering that you're not alone. That's not just your imagination. That's the hour when the veil is thinnest, when the things we pretend not to believe and start to believe in us. Tonight's stories aren't just tales, they're warnings. Some of you won't sleep after this. Some of you might not wake up. I'm not saying that to scare you. Well, maybe I am. But I'm also telling you because you need to know what you're inviting in when you listen this late. There are rules to the night, and breaking them has consequences. Stay until the end, there's something I need to tell you. Something I can't say until the last story. If you leave early, you'll never know. And trust me, you'll want to know. Let me start with the first story, a case that still keeps me up at night. I grew up in a house that looked like every other house on our street: white siding, a neat little lawn, a swing set in the backyard. My parents tucked me in every night, my mom humming softly as she smoothed the blankets, my dad making sure the closet door was shut tight. My little sister, Emma, would peek in from the hallway, clutching her stuffed rabbit, and whisper, "Good night. Don't let the bedbugs bite." It was the kind of place where nothing bad was supposed to happen. The kind of place where you felt safe. But I learned early that safety is just a story we tell ourselves. It started the summer I turned 9. I remember the first night because it was so ordinary. I'd just finished reading under the covers with a flashlight, the way kids do when they're supposed to be asleep. The house was quiet, the only sound the hum of the air conditioner and the distant chirp of crickets. I was drifting off when I felt a prickling at the back of my neck, like someone was watching me. I rolled over and looked at the window. At first, I thought it was just a trick of the moonlight, a smudge on the glass. But then I saw it. A pale, oval face pressed against the window pane. The eyes were wide and dark, the mouth too small, almost pursed. It didn't move. It just stared. I froze. My heart hammered so loud I was sure it would wake the whole house. I wanted to scream, but the sound stuck in my throat. I squeezed my eyes shut, counted to 10, and when I looked again, the face was gone. The next morning, I told my mom. She smiled, ruffled my hair, and said, "You just had a bad dream, honey. Maybe no more scary books before bed, okay?" My dad checked the window, found nothing but my own fingerprints from where I'd pressed my hands against the glass. Emma teased me at breakfast, making spooky faces until I threw a piece of toast at her. But the next night, it happened again. 2:59 a.m. I know because I checked the clock, desperate for proof that I wasn't imagining things. The face was back, closer this time, the features clearer. Its eyes seemed to follow me, unblinking. I pulled the covers over my head and waited for morning. I started dreading bedtime. I tried sleeping with the lights on, but the face still came. I tried closing the curtains, but somehow, they'd always be open by the time I woke up. I even tried switching rooms with Emma, but she complained about weird dreams and begged to go back to her own bed. One night, I worked up the courage to tell my parents again. "There's someone at my window," I whispered, voice shaking. My dad sighed, knelt down, and looked me in the eye. "It's just your imagination, kiddo. There's no way anyone could be out there. We're on the second floor." He took me outside the next day, showed me the ground beneath my window, no ladder, no footprints, nothing but grass. But that night, when I looked, there was a foggy handprint on the glass. Too big to be mine, too high for anyone to reach from the ground. I started talking to someone online, a friend I'd met in a forum for kids who couldn't sleep. Their username was Nidal. I told them about the face, the handprint, the way my parents didn't believe me. Nidal replied, "Sometimes, things find us when we're alone. Don't look at it. Don't let it know you see it. I asked what would happen if I did. They just sent back a single emoji, a zipped mouth. I tried to follow their advice, but curiosity always won. Each night, the face got closer. Sometimes, I'd wake up to find the window open a crack, the room colder than it should be. Once, I found a single, muddy footprint on the carpet beneath the window. My parents blamed me for tracking in dirt. Emma started having nightmares. She'd wake up screaming, saying there was a man in her room, watching her from the corner. My parents brushed it off as sibling influence, told us both to stop scaring each other. The last night in that house, I woke up at 2:59 a.m., heart pounding. The face was gone from the window. For a moment, I felt relief until I heard the soft creak of the closet door. I turned, and there it was, standing in the shadows, its eyes wide and empty, its mouth stretched into a silent scream. I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe. It stepped forward, and the room went ice cold. I don't remember what happened next. I woke up in the morning, the sun streaming through the window, my parents packing boxes. We were moving. My dad had gotten a new job, and we were leaving the house behind. I never told them what I saw that night. I didn't have to. Emma refused to sleep alone for years after that. We moved to a new house, a new town. The nightmares faded, but sometimes, late at night, I catch a glimpse of something in the corner of my eye, a pale face in the reflection of a window, a shadow that doesn't belong. I never found out what it wanted, but I think it's still looking for me. That was just the beginning. The next story is even worse. Some of you have sent me things I wish I could unsee. Every time I post a new story, my inbox fills up with your theories, your nightmares, your confessions. I read them all, yes, even the ones that make me want to sleep with the lights on. Last week, someone commented, "What if the faces in the window aren't trying to get in, they're trying to warn us about something already inside?" I haven't stopped thinking about that. But it's not just theories. Sometimes, you send me your own stories. Like this one, from a listener who calls themselves Sleepless in Cedar. They wrote, "I started getting texts at exactly midnight. No number, just a blank contact. The first message said, 'Are you awake?' I thought it was a prank, but then the next night, it said, 'I can see you.' I blocked the number, but the messages kept coming. 'Don't look behind you. Don't answer the door.' Last night, it sent a photo of my bedroom window. I live on the 3rd floor. There's no balcony. I haven't slept since." If you've ever received a message you can't explain, you're not alone. Some stories are too dangerous to share, even here. There are things I won't read out loud, things that feel like they're listening for their own names. Maybe you've sent me something like that. Maybe you're still waiting for a reply. But the next story, it's one I promised I'd never tell. I used to think science could explain everything. That's why I signed up for the sleep study my sophomore year of college. Easy money, I thought. A few nights in a lab, some electrodes glued to my scalp, and a stack of forms to sign. I was broke, and the promise of a $500 stipend sounded like a dream. Besides, I'd always been a skeptic. Ghost stories were for people who needed something to blame for the things they couldn't face in daylight. The lab was in the basement of the psych building, all humming fluorescent lights and the faint smell of burnt coffee. There were 5 of us. Me, a guy named Marcus who never stopped cracking jokes, a quiet girl named Priya, a grad student named Ben, and a woman in her 30s who introduced herself as "Just call me Sam." We were all there for the same reason: money, curiosity, maybe a little boredom. Dr. Havel, the lead researcher, was the kind of person who made you feel like you were being studied even when you were just signing your name. She explained the rules: no caffeine, no electronics, no leaving the lab after lights out. "We're studying the effects of sleep deprivation on group cognition," she said, her eyes flicking from face to face. "You'll be monitored at all times. If you experience anything unusual, report it immediately. Sometimes the mind plays tricks when it's tired." The first night was easy. We played cards, swapped stories, and made fun of the scratchy hospital gowns. Marcus tried to convince us he could lucid dream on command. Ben rolled his eyes and said, "I'll believe it when I see it." Priya barely spoke, but she smiled when Sam offered her a granola bar. We all laughed when the lights flickered, blaming the ancient wiring. The second night, things got weirder. We were kept awake longer, The lights dimmed to a dull orange. Dr. Havel came in every hour to ask us questions. What time did we think it was? Could we remember a sequence of numbers? Did we feel present? I started to feel like I was floating, my thoughts drifting in and out. At one point, I looked at the clock and realized 2 hours had passed in what felt like minutes. That's when the dreams started. Or maybe they were hallucinations. I'd close my eyes and see a dark hallway, endless and empty, with doors on either side. Sometimes I'd hear footsteps behind me, soft and shuffling. I'd wake up gasping, heart racing, only to find Marcus staring at the ceiling, eyes wide. "Did you hear that?" he whispered. Someone was calling my name. On the third night, Priya refused to sleep. She sat in the corner, knees hugged to her chest, whispering to herself. Sam tried to comfort her, but Priya just shook her head. "There's something in the room," she said. "It's watching us." Ben scoffed, but I could see the fear in his eyes. We started comparing notes. Marcus said he saw a shadow standing at the foot of his bed, tall and thin, with arms too long. Sam dreamed of a voice whispering numbers in her ear, over and over. Ben claimed he lost time. He'd blink and find himself standing in a different part of the room, no memory of how he got there. I kept seeing the hallway, the doors, the feeling that if I opened one, I'd never come back. Dr. Havel grew more distant, her questions sharper. "Have you seen anything unusual?" she asked me, her pen poised above her clipboard. I hesitated, then lied. "Just weird dreams." She nodded, but her eyes lingered on me a little too long. "Sometimes the mind creates what it fears most," she said. "Don't let it in." That night, the power went out. The emergency lights flickered on, casting everything in sickly red. We huddled together, listening to the hum of the machines and the distant sound of footsteps in the hallway. Only, there shouldn't have been anyone else in the building. Marcus tried to lighten the mood. "Maybe we're the experiment," he joked. "Maybe they're testing how long it takes for us to eat each other." No one laughed. I must have fallen asleep, because I woke up to silence. The room was empty. The beds were made, the machines powered down. My watch said 3:17 a.m. I called out no answer. My heart pounded as I stumbled through the lab, searching for anyone, anything. The doors were locked. The windows were blacked out. On the table, I found a tape recorder. Old, heavy, the kind you see in detective movies. There was a note taped to it. "Play me." My hands shook as I pressed the button. At first, just static. Then, voices distorted, overlapping, whispering my name. I heard Marcus laughing, then screaming. Priya sobbing. Sam repeating numbers, faster and faster. Ben's voice, low and urgent. "Don't open the door. Don't let it in." Then Dr. Havel. "The experiment is over. If you're hearing this, you're already part of it." The tape ended with a sound I can't describe, a scraping, dragging noise, like something heavy being pulled across the floor. Then silence. I don't remember how I got out. I woke up in my own bed, the sun streaming through the window, my phone buzzing with missed calls. The university said the study was canceled due to unforeseen circumstances. I never saw any of the others again. Sometimes I wonder if they ever existed at all. But I still have the tape. I keep it in a drawer, buried under old notebooks and broken headphones. Sometimes, late at night, I hear voices whispering through the static, calling my name, begging me to listen. I haven't played it since. I still have the tape, but I'm afraid to play it. If you think that's bad, wait until you hear what happened to my friend Jess. Jess always said the graveyard shift was the easiest money she'd ever made. It's just me, a pot of burnt coffee, and the occasional weirdo buying cigarettes at 3 a.m. She'd text me, usually with a blurry selfie of her feet propped up on the counter. The gas station was a lonely outpost on the edge of town, surrounded by nothing but empty fields and the hum of the highway. I used to tease her about it. "You're basically the final girl in a horror movie, Jess," but she'd just laugh and say, "If the monsters want a bag of Doritos and a Gatorade, I'll ring them up like everyone else." For a while, it really was that simple. Jess would text me updates during her shift. "Guy in a clown wig just bought 6 energy drinks." Or, "Old lady asked if we sell holy water." Should I be worried? It was all routine, all harmless. Until the night she told me about the man in the gray coat. He's been here for hours, she wrote. Just standing by the coffee machine. Not buying anything. Not talking. Just watching. I tried to joke it off. Maybe he's waiting for the donuts to be fresh. But Jess didn't laugh. He doesn't blink. I swear he hasn't moved. Every time I look away, he's closer to the counter. The next night, she texted again. He's back. Same spot. I asked if he needed help, and he just smiled. His teeth are wrong. Too many, maybe. I told her to call the cops, but she said she didn't want to make a scene. He's probably harmless. Just a creep. But her messages got stranger. I keep hearing the door chime, but no one comes in. The clock on the wall keeps resetting to 2:17. I swear I've already stocked the cooler 3 times tonight. I started to worry. I offered to come by, but she said no. It's probably just sleep deprivation. I'll be fine. Then, one night, I got a string of texts, rapid fire. Something's wrong. There's a door in the back hallway. I've never seen it before. It's not on the floor plan. It's just there. The man in the gray coat is gone, but I think he went through the door. I called her, but it went straight to voicemail. I texted back, desperate, don't open it. Jess, please, just leave. No response. The next morning, I drove out to the gas station. The sun was just coming up, painting the sky in sickly pinks and oranges. The place looked the same as always, fluorescent lights buzzing, a single car at the pump. The smell of stale coffee drifting through the air. But Jess wasn't there. Her phone was on the counter, screen cracked, still buzzing with unread messages. I picked it up and saw the last one she'd sent. A photo of the back hallway, the new door at the end, painted a deep, unnatural red. The caption just said, "Should I go in?" I asked the morning clerk if he'd seen Jess. He shrugged. She clocked out early, I guess. Didn't say anything. But her car was still in the lot, keys on the floor by the register. I walked to the back hallway, heart pounding. The door was there, just like in the photo. No handle, no lock, just a smooth, red surface. I pressed my ear against it and heard nothing. Or maybe something. A faint whisper, like someone calling my name from very far away. I tried to open it, but it wouldn't budge. I looked around, no hinges, no sign it had ever been part of the building. I stepped back, and for a moment, I thought I saw a shadow move behind the glass of the freezer, something tall and thin, watching me. I left the gas station and never went back. Jess was never found. Her phone still gets texts, sometimes blank messages, or strings of numbers that don't make sense. Once, I got a message from her number. Don't open the door. Not for anyone. If you ever see a door where there shouldn't be one, don't open it. Some stories don't end. They just wait for you. You guys always find things I miss. Did you catch the clue in the last story? Every time I think I've seen it all, someone in the comments points out a detail. I overlooked a shadow in the background, a phrase that keeps repeating, a pattern in the numbers. Last week, someone wrote a whole theory about the mirror man from last month's episode, connecting him to the faces in the window and the voices on the tape. Honestly, some of your ideas are scarier than the stories themselves. I love reading your theories, even the wild ones. Like the person who said the gas station door is a portal. And Jess is still out there, sending messages from the other side. Or the one who thinks the sleep experiment was never about dreams, but about letting something in. You make me wonder if these stories are more connected than I realize, or maybe you're all just as sleep-deprived as I am. If you've got a theory, a story, or even just a weird feeling you can't shake, drop it in the comments. I read every single one, even the ones that make me question my own sanity. And if you've ever seen something you can't explain, you're not alone here. There's a secret in tonight's stories. Only the bravest will find it. Maybe it's a word, a number, a name you've heard before. Or maybe it's something you feel deep down when the lights go out. But the next story is the one that haunts me most. I've always had trouble sleeping. It started as a kid, nightmares, restless legs, the sense that if I closed my eyes too long, something would crawl out of the dark and find me. As I got older, it just got worse. By college, I was averaging 3 hours a night, if I was lucky. I tried everything: melatonin, white noise, even those weird ASMR videos where people whisper about folding towels. Nothing worked. So, like any desperate insomniac, I turned to the internet. That's how I found the forum. It was called The Sleepless Ones. The landing page was simple: a black background, white text, a flickering banner that read, "You're not alone. Not ever." It felt like a secret club for people who understood what it was like to be awake when the rest of the world was dreaming. There were threads about sleep hygiene, memes about counting sheep, and long, rambling posts from people who just needed someone to talk to at 4 a.m. At first, it was comforting. I made friends, real friends, or as real as you can get online. There was Static Dream, who posted playlists of ambient music, Mothman Lives, who shared stories about shadow people and sleep paralysis, and Echo, who always replied with a joke, no matter how bleak the thread got. We DM each other, swap tips, and commiserate about the weird things you see when you're the only one awake. But after a few weeks, I noticed something strange. Users started disappearing. Not in the "I'm taking a break from social media" way, but in the "their posts vanish, their usernames go gray, and no one mentions them again" way. Threads would get locked with no explanation. Sometimes, a mod would post a cryptic message, "User removed for violating the rules." But no one ever said what the rules were. One night, I got a DM from Echo. It just said, "Don't play the game." Seriously. I replied, "What game?" but got no answer. I scrolled through the forum, searching for clues, and found a thread pinned to the top of the Night Terrors section. The title was just a single word: Red. The first post was from a user called Admin. It read, "If you're reading this, you've already started. The game is simple: stay awake. Don't click the red thread. Don't answer the call. Don't look at the clock. If you break the rules, you lose. If you lose, you disappear." The replies were a mix of jokes and genuine fear. Some users claimed it was just a meme, a way to mess with new members. Others swore they'd seen things, glitches in the site, messages that appeared and vanished, voices coming through their speakers when the page was open. One user, Nightlight, posted, "I heard my own voice coming from my laptop. It told me to go to sleep. I unplugged it, but the voice kept talking. I tried to laugh it off, but the next night, I got another DM. This time, it was a voice message. I hesitated, then pressed play. At first, just static. Then, my own voice, distorted and slow. Don't look at the clock. Don't answer the call. Don't click the red thread." The message ended with a sound like someone breathing right next to my ear. I slammed my laptop shut and tried to convince myself it was a prank. But when I opened the forum again, the red thread was at the top of every page, no matter where I clicked. My DMs filled with messages from users I didn't know. "Are you awake? Do you see it too? Don't answer the call." I started seeing things out of the corner of my eye, shapes moving in the reflection of my screen, shadows that didn't belong. My phone would buzz at odd hours, always from unknown. Once, I picked up and heard nothing but breathing. The final straw was a group DM from Static Dream, Mothman Lives, and Echo. The message was simple: "We dare you to play the game." I replied, "What happens if I do?" Static Dream answered, "You'll know, or you won't. That's the point." I couldn't help myself. I clicked the red thread. The page glitched, the screen flickering red and black. My speakers crackled, and I heard my own voice again, whispering, "Stay awake. Stay awake. Stay awake." The room felt colder, the shadows deeper. I looked at the clock, 3:33 a.m. The numbers flickered, then vanished. I tried to log out, but the site wouldn't let me. Every time I closed the window, it reopened. My reflection in the screen started to move on its own, mouthing words I couldn't hear. I felt like I was falling, like I was trapped between waking and dreaming. I don't remember how long it lasted. Maybe hours, maybe days. When I finally came to, the forum was gone. The URL didn't work, my friends' usernames were erased, and my DMs were empty. But sometimes, late at night, I still get messages from unknown. Just a single word: awake. If you find the forum, don't click the red thread. Don't answer the call. And whatever you do, don't look at the clock. And now, the story I promised I'd never share. This last story isn't about me. It's about someone like you, someone who listened a little too closely, who let the stories slip past the safe distance of a screen and into the quiet places of their life. I never met them in person, but I still think about them every time I record. I call them the listener. It started the way it does for a lot of you. The listener wrote to me a few months ago, their first email short and almost shy. Your stories help me sleep. I know that sounds weird, but the scarier they are, the safer I feel. Like nothing worse can happen if I'm already expecting the worst. I get messages like that all the time, and I always try to reply. I told them I was glad the stories helped, and to let me know if they ever wanted to share one of their own. A few weeks later, they wrote again. This time, the tone was different. I think something's wrong. I keep hearing voices at night, just as I'm drifting off. At first, I thought it was your videos auto-playing, but when I checked, my phone was off. The voices sound like you, but they say things you never said. Sometimes, I hear my own name. I told them it was probably just their mind playing tricks, the way it does when you're half asleep. But their next message was more frantic. I saw something in the reflection of my window last night. It looked like me, but it wasn't. It smiled when I didn't. I tried to ignore it, but now I see it everywhere: mirrors, screens, even in the dark when I close my eyes. They started sending me journal entries, little fragments of their nights. 2:59 a.m. Heard whispering again. Can't make out the words. 3:13 a.m. Something moved in the hallway. I'm alone. 3:33 a.m. My reflection just mouthed, "Don't listen." I wanted to help, but what do you say to someone who's being haunted by your own voice? I suggested they take a break from the channel, maybe try some lighter content, but they replied, "I can't stop. It's like the stories are following me. I hear them even when I'm awake now." The last message I got was just a single line. If you're reading this, warn them. Tell them not to listen too closely. Tell them not to let the stories in. After that, nothing. Their email bounced back, their account disappeared, and every trace of them vanished from my inbox. Sometimes, I wonder if they ever existed at all, or if I dreamed the whole thing up during one of my own sleepless nights. But every so often, I get a comment on a video, no username, no profile picture, just a string of numbers or a single word, listening. And sometimes, when I'm recording late at night, I hear a faint echo in my headphones, a voice that isn't mine, whispering along with the story. If you're still listening, you might be next. Before you go, there's one last thing you need to know. You made it to the end, but the stories aren't over. Not really. If you're still here, still listening, you've already crossed a line most people never even see. Maybe you think you're safe now, that the worst is behind you because the video is almost done, the lights are still on, and you can always just hit pause. But the truth is, stories have a way of following you. They linger in the quiet, in the spaces between words, in the moments just before you fall asleep. Remember what I said at the beginning? That there was something I couldn't tell you until the last story? Here it is, the secret that ties all of this together. Every story tonight had a pattern, a thread running through it. Maybe you noticed the times: 2:59, 3:13, 3:33. Maybe you caught the names, the warnings, the way the voices always seem to know just a little too much. Or maybe you just felt it, that cold prickle at the back of your neck, the sense that you're not alone, even now. Here's the thing, the stories aren't just stories. They're invitations. Every time you listen, every time you let your guard down, you open a door. Most of the time, nothing comes through. But sometimes, just sometimes, something listens back. That's why you hear your name in the static, why you see faces in the glass, why you wake up at the same time every night with your heart pounding and no memory of the dream that came before. So here's my warning and my challenge. If you notice the secret, if you think you know what it means, leave a comment. Share your theory. Tell me what you saw, what you heard, what you felt. Maybe you'll help someone else put the pieces together. Or maybe you'll just make it easier for the next story to find you. And if you're one of the brave ones, the ones who stay until the very end, remember this. If you hear footsteps tonight, don't open your eyes. If you get a message you can't explain, don't answer. And if you see a door where there shouldn't be one, whatever you do, don't open it. There's something I didn't tell you, but maybe you'll figure it out before it's too late. Thank you for listening, for sharing your fears, for being part of this strange, sleepless community. The stories will keep coming, as long as there's someone willing to listen. Maybe next time, I'll be telling your story. Until then, good night. And don't look behind you.